Welcome everybody, and today we are doing What If Deku had Rayquaza's abilities, part 2. And, yeah. Thank you to Leia and everyone in the comments section who's been suggesting stuff recently. I will get to Garchomp, and I might also do Ditto or, Routes soon. Those could be some good ideas. Shout out to the boys. Okay. And now we will be starting off the video. Okay, guys. So we take place after the hero versus villain fighting. So, okay, so the next week, one day when they are eating lunch, they hear the sirens go off, and Deku asks the third year who was sitting near their table, like, "Hey kid, what's the alarm for?" And the kid is like, "Oh, that means there are villains invading the school. We gotta go." As he starts running to the exit. And Ray's like, "We got this, guys. We're heroes in training." As they go to find whoever's doing this. But while this was happening, Ida was telling them it was all the press, but that's when Deku and her squad find Shigaraki digging through files as Deku uses air slashes on him, and it cuts his neck. And he starts bleeding, and then he turns around like, "You, how did you find me? We even made the perfect diversion." As Deku's like, "Well, we're heroes in training. Why would we run?" As Dawn and Kai come out of Ray's shadow, and Shigaraki's like, "Where do you two come from?" And that's when he gets stone-edged into the gut by Dawn. And he's like, how are you guys so strong?" And right before he passes out, he sees a flood of water go towards him. And Kai shouts, "Water pulse!" And he awakes to see himself tied up and in a white room with padding all around it. And he asks, "Where am I?" And Aizawa's like, so you're the leader of the League of Villains, I presume?" And Shigaraki's like, "I might be. What's it to you, punk?" And Aizawa's like, "Well, you are being held captive at UA." And Shigaraki is like, You have some pretty strong students, sir." And Aizawa's like, "Is that so? Which ones beat you then?" "I think her name was Ray." And Aizawa's like, "Good to know." As he walks away. And they've put a therapist in there to try and get Shigaraki to leak some information, but he has quirk restraints on, so. And Aizawa meets Deku in the hallway, while Ray and her squad are talking like, "That was so cool, guys. We actually took down a villain. It was my idea to not run, so I guess I did it all." And Don's like, "We all contributed equally. Kai knocked the guy out. I did most of the damage, and you confronted him and made a plan. I technically did it all." And Kai's like, "I still did something, girls." And they all start arguing, and Aizawa was like, "Everyone be silent." As he looks to Ray, is like, "You, follow me." And Ray, as she's walking away, like, she just winks at Dawn and Kai, like, suck it. As they walk away. And Aizawa's like, so you were the one to take down the villain, I presume? And Ray's like, yep, me and my squad. And Aizawa's like, you have potential, kid. Already taken down villains at your age. I could do no such thing at your age. I was weak, if anything. And Ray's like, is that so? Didn't you have your scarf skills? And Aizawa was like, no, I was bad at the scarf, actually. And he starts explaining his backstory with Shirakumo and Present Mike. And at the end, Ray's like, that's so sad. And she starts tearing up. And Aizawa was like, whatever, as he walks away. And the next day, they go to the USJ. And that's when they see a purple... Well, when they get into the USJ, they see a purple portal open in the middle. And it's actually just one of the low-ranking villains checking if this was the right class they were supposed to invade. And he sees Aizawa at the top, and then he yells to Shigaraki, "It's them, boss!" And the portal suddenly becomes much bigger, and all the villains start flooding out. And Shigaraki comes out with a blonde. Actually, no, Shigaraki's not even there. He's still at UA. And All For One's actually there, because he was expecting for All Might to be there. And Aizawa is petrified, like, you! It's like, students, run to the exit now! As they all start running as fast as they can. And Deku turns into her mega form and gathers all the students up and breaks a window with her head. And she starts flying away to UA. And that's when one of the villains, who was outside of the perimeter to make sure no one got out, she starts shooting at Deku and Class 1A with projectiles. And while Ray and everyone are dodging, Aizawa is trying to fend off the villains, but All For One is providing some support. But he knows he can easily beat Aizawa. And Aizawa is trying to stay as far as possible from All For One so he doesn't get his quirk stolen. But right as he defeats one of the last villains, he sees All For One suddenly start running at him. And Aizawa tries to get out there as fast as he can, like, I can't lose like this. As he sees one of the UA staff members, Cementos, come through the doorway, like, what's with all this ruckus? And All Might behind him, like, are the students okay, Aizawa? As he sees All For One about to catch up to Aizawa as he pulls his hair. And Cementos immediately throws All Might down to there, like, All Might, now! As Cementos starts making cement tiles to hit All For One. And they all start chipping away at All For One. And All Might begins his epic clash with All For One. And the Nomu, while they're fighting, All For One calls for it to start fighting All Might alongside him. And All Might is quickly being defeated. He's getting hit from his weak point, and then he gets hit in the face. He's getting comboed by the Nomu and All For One. And that's when suddenly All For One gets hit in the face, but his mask actually cracks open. And that's when he remarks to himself, like, maybe I'll leave this one to the Nomu, as he teleports away. And all the other villains do, like Kurogiri. And they just leave the Nomu there. And the couple brave students that decide to come back in, they see all of the UA staff trying to beat the Nomu, but All Might claims to say he has it, but he's getting destroyed by it because he was massively hurt by All for One, only for the Nomu to come tag in and just destroy him even more. And Deku and her squad come through the door like, "Where's All Might?" And Samantha's like, "You should stay out of here, kids." As Deku, Dawn, and Kai all turn into their legendary Pokemon forms, and they all start going over to All Might. And from the top of the stairway, Kai uses Waterfall, and she's like going on a wave of the water. And Dawn rises up like a volcano and literally takes like basically all of the volcano except the part she was standing on and makes it into one giant javelin and throws it at All for One. And Deku goes from the top of the USJ and flies down while meteors are falling down at All for One. And it's a Draco meteor. And All for One then hits All Might up in the air as all the attacks are going to converge on where he's hit. So he might as well thinks like, if I can survive this hit, I can maybe finish All Might right here. As he jumps up, and right as all the moves hit him in the side, he forgets about Ray, and she hits him in his head as his fist collides with All Might's very limp hand, and All for One gets shot to the ground, and All Might gets sent flying up. And right as he's about to fall down, All Might is caught by Deku, but Deku sees that All Might is super hurt, and she flies back down to Cementos, where Recovery Girl is waiting, and All Might is given medical attention immediately as he's rushed to a hospital. And All for One, who's still in the middle of the USJ, is like, pesky kids, as he then sees something on top of him, like, what now? As he gets squashed by Kai and her waterfall, and basically just fell on All for One. And All for One is surprised by this as he thinks, oh, maybe I can take one of the brat's quirks, as he goes to grab him. But that's when Aizawa is right behind him, and he's like, oh, no, you don't. And he uses his quirk. And Kai gets up and starts running. And turns back into her Kyogre form and flops into the sea area. And starts defeating some of the villains that were set up there. And, yeah. And the rest of the villains are actually there also, so. All while this is happening, Dawn goes for a very strong attack in her human form. They can choose for extra strength to go their Pokemon form, but for better evasiveness and speed, they can use their human form, but it's weaker also. So Deku and Dawn both go for their signature move, Dragon Ascent, and I'll call this a new move, Volcano's Mouth, as a giant magma rock appears right next to Dawn, and like a pitcher, she throws it down at All for One, and Deku, using her Dragon Ascent, starts flying down at Mach 3 at All for One, and All for One gets ready to block this, But right as he's getting one of his strength quirks to help block, Aizawa uses his erasure quirk, and this blocks his quirk, and All For One yells, "How dare you do this!" as both of the attacks collide with All For One. And a massive shockwave goes through the USJ. And when the dust settles, they see in the middle All For One with the tip of the waterfall having gone through All For One's chest. And All For One detaches the waterfall part, and he starts coughing out blood like, how could one flimsy hero, a very weak All Might, and 3 kids defeat me? As he falls onto the ground, unconscious. And the next day, he wakes up in a cell with all kinds of restraints, and All Might comes into the room, but it's really just a computer, and they're going to video chat, and All Might's like, All For One, my greatest rival. And All For One's like, aren't you happy? Do you still even have that quirk now? Or is it that Mirio kid I've heard so much about recently? And All Might's like, well, I will give it to you. You are right. And little did All Might know, there was actually a transceiver from All For One's brain and his ear that was being transmitted over to the League of Villains, and they now know that Mirio Togata has one for all. And All For One is actually smirking like, well, thank you for this information, All Might. I like having our little chats. Say hi to Nana for me. As the call ends, All Might in his hospital room screams like, how dare you say her name? As his voice cuts out and the zoom ends. And Deku comes in the room like, hi, All Might. And All Might's like, oh, hey, kid. How you doing? I saw that you were still in the fight after I left. How'd that go? And Deku's like, well, actually, me and Don are the ones who stopped the villain. And All Might is shocked, like, really? Dang, kid. You and your friend group are really strong, taking down both of the heads of the League of Villains. Props to you, kid. Even my successor, I don't know if they could even do anything close to this. As he smirks like, the next generation really is coming powerful, Nana. As he smiles. And he slowly falls asleep. And the nurse comes in the room like, oh, I'm so sorry about him. Did he say anything to you, ma'am? And Deku's like, oh no, it's fine. He didn't say anything. We were just talking. And the nurse checks his pulse, and it's unusually low. Is like, wait, how is his pulse lower? And he sees someone outside of the room, and it's actually an assassin with a quirk that lowers one's heartbeat, especially if they're weakened. And he gets a very heavy-duty sniper and shoots at the nurse and hitting her arm. And the nurse screams, and Deku immediately goes out of the door into her mega form like, how dare you? Don't even try. As right as her hand is in front of she thinks her hand is in front of the gun, as she sees a bullet shot fire, and it goes right through her fingertips, And she's like, no. As she's watching the bullet. And the bullet shatters the glass as it's going straight to All Might. And that's when she sees a very fast person jump in front of the bullet. And little does he know, it's actually Ida with a very heavy-duty arm. Well, basically his hero costume. And he blocks the bullet. And All Might, who is still unconscious, doesn't know any of this is happening. And eventually they defeat the villain. Sorry about all the filler, guys. Yeah, I kind of went a little overboard with this USJ. You can definitely see that. Anyway, next we have... One sec, guys. I gotta check what is next. Okay, guys. Next we have the sports festival. So, let's fast forward 1 week. And, Deku and her squad are rolling up to the USJ on the bus. And they start talking like, what do you think our competition will be, guys? And, Kai's like, well, we're looking at our competition. It's us 3. We're simply the best. There's nothing wrong with that. And Ray's like, I bet... Here's how I'm looking at it, guys. I feel I go number 1. One of you 2 takes number 2 or 3. And then we got whatever loser can take number 4. As Aizawa tells them all to get out of the bus. And they load onto the USJ premises as they all get there. We're just making it up as we go, guys. And they all get on their gym uniforms and they walk into the stadium. And when they all come out, Midnight announces, like, Ida Tenya and Class 1A from UA. As the fans all start clapping. And Midnight's like, can we get a pledge from the number 1 examinee from the entrance exam? And Deku walks up and she says, my pledge is for us all to try our hardest, and I hope we can all do our best. And I just want to say one last thing before I leave, guys. I'm the best here, and you can't say anything about that. As she walks off the stage, and everyone starts booing, and she yells like, oh, say something else, you know I'm right. And she walks away. And Kai's like, you know that's not very nice, Ray. And Ray's like, I'm just telling the truth. And Dawn's like, I mean, at least her heart's in the right place. And Kai's like, you're not helping Dawn. As the exam starts. And Midnight is like, ready, set, go. As everyone starts running through the entrance. And Deku and her squad try and get up. Dawn just uses a stone edge as like stepping stones. Kai, she just splashes water everywhere. And Ray, she just flies like a little Rayquaza. She's just flying. And when she's flying through the air, she sees Todoroki under her, like, oh hey, Shoto. And Shoto's like, be quiet, Deku. Wait, what? As he looks up, and Deku is right above him, like, hey, Ray, how'd you get up there? And he gets a flashback to his mom as he says that name, and he's like, ugh. And Deku's like, well, I'm just planning to win. Simple. And Shoto's like, you're too cocky for this event. As he throws up ice crystals at her. And Deku dodges this easily, like, your aim really sucks, you know, Shoto. As she's flying through the air. And that's when they see Dawn and Bakugo going at an all-out foot race. And they're punching each other like, I'm better than you, extra. And Dawn fires back with a knee in the gut like, you know that's a lie. And they keep fighting, and Kai is behind them like, guys, don't fight. And Dawn's like, make us. And Kai is like, I will. As she launches a giant water pulse at the both of them. And they both get splashed with water, and they both start yelling at Kai. All of this is happening. Ray and Shoto arrive at the 0-pointer robots. And they all start trying to basically swat at Deku. And they keep missing, and Deku is like, for how good they're supposed to be, these guys are unusually slow. As suddenly her foot gets caught on one of the robots, and Deku's like, oh no, as she gets slammed to the ground hard. And Deku, with her bloodied back, he's like, yep, that hurt, that really hurt. And Shoto passes her, and Shoto's like, eat your words, huh? As he's freezing the robots. And Deku suddenly gets a burst of adrenaline, like, I will not let that loser pass me. As she flies at supersonic speeds, going straight past Shoto, and immediately over the next obstacle. And she realizes how far she is in front of everyone. And she just starts walking. And 5 minutes later, she gets to the minefield. And she's just taking her time when she hears Bakugo and Shoto and Dawn and Kai all racing towards her. And Deku's like, they'll get to me eventually. As she passes through the minefield. And they just started the minefield. And Deku walks through the corridor. And they just finished the minefield. So they're just about a little ways behind her as she crosses the finish line. And that's when all four of them jump at the exit. And everyone else starts pouring in. And when the rankings are announced, Deku got first. Dawn got second. Bakugo got third. Fourth was Kai, and fifth was Shoto. So, obviously Ray, Kai, and Dawn are going to be in a team. Just kidding. They're all actually going to be on separate teams. Because we're cool like that. Anyway, Ray's team will consist of herself, Uraraka, Ida, Shoto, and Tokoyami. So, Dawn's team is going to be Dawn, Bakugo, Sero, Kirishima, and Mina. Yeah, you need 5. You got the horse, and you have 4 people. Okay, guys, tell me if I'm thinking this wrong in the comment. I need to check. Anyway, guys, let me redo the team. So, it's Ray, Tokoyami, Shoto, and Uraraka for the first team. For Dawn's team, it's Dawn, Bakugo, Kirishima, and Hatsume. Anyway, and Kai's team being the girl with the vine quirk, the green one, obviously Kai, and I'm gonna say not Shinso. Shinso doesn't work here because he basically is slaves. Well, yeah, his mind control quirk. And Hagakure. And I don't know if Hagakure actually got into the top 50. I'm gonna say she did. So we're gonna say Hagakure, and definitely not Mineta. Never Mineta. And we're gonna say the guy with the solid air quirk. and the other teams are just random. Anyway, we continue this. Deku and her squad are immediately targeted out of the gate. Dawn and Kai immediately start throwing attacks at Ray, but she's just countering them with air slashes. And eventually, Kai starts making a run at Ray, and the person with solid air is using their quirk and using them as like steps. And eventually, Kai is about to use a full power waterfall on Ray and her team, and that's when Deku uses Dragon Ascent, but right before she goes up into there, she just barely knocks Kai up, and just enough to hit her up into the air airborne. And Deku immediately comes down soaring and hits Kai in the stomach. Right before she's about to hit the ground, though, she is saved by the solid air quirk. It's got range, okay, guys? We're gonna say the solid air quirk has range in this one. It could. We didn't see much of it in the anime. Anyway, well, yeah, all we saw was like a close-up one, so it could have range. And we don't include the manga on this channel. Shout out to part 6 of that one video. Never mind. Anyway, we continue this off, and Dawn now is making an approach at Ray, and her team is just confronting Ray. And when they see Kai nearly getting knocked out, Dawn goes for a stone edge on Ray, hitting her on the cheek, and Ray's like, a cheap shot, Dawn, as she's hit off her team, but she is caught. And Ray's like, I'll get you for that, Dawn. And that is where I'll be leaving off, ladies and gentlemen. I want to leave off for some story and not just a quick ending for the rest of the sports festival. So this is Isaiah's Cat signing off. Bye-bye, guys.